Long Beach, California, is more than just a bustling coastal city. It is a place where history hides beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. Located in southeastern Los Angeles County, Long Beach today stands as the 44th most populous city in the United States, with over 451,000 residents. Yet behind these numbers lies a story that stretches far beyond its modern skyline. Incorporated in 1897, Long Beach began as a modest settlement, slowly transforming into one of Southern California's most strategic cities. Just 20 miles south of downtown Los Angeles, it grew as part of the legendary Gateway Cities region, becoming a vital link between land and sea. Beneath its streets lies an oil field, an invisible force that once powered its economy, with wells hidden both beneath the city itself and offshore. But the true history of Long Beach reveals itself in its waterfront. Here, mysteries of the past linger. The RMS Queen Mary, permanently docked in the harbor, carries with it whispers of wartime voyages and ghostly legends that continue to fascinate visitors. Nearby, the Aquarium of the Pacific connects the city to the vast, unexplored depths of the ocean. Long Beach is also a city of grand spectacles. The roar of engines at the Long Beach Grand Prix, the vibrant colors of the Pride Festival and Parade, and the intellectual pulse of California State University, Long Beach, one of the largest universities in the state. From its oil-rich foundations to its maritime legends, the history of Long Beach, California, is more than dates and numbers. It is a story of transformation, power, and mystery, woven into the very fabric of Southern California itself. Long before Long Beach became a thriving port city, this land carried the footsteps of a people whose presence reached back over 10,000 years. Coastal Southern California was home to successive cultures, but by the time Spanish explorers arrived in the 16th century, the Tongva people were the dominant force here. Within what is now Long Beach, the Tongva established at least 3 major villages. Tavaxonga stood near the Los Angeles River, while Awanga and Povana flourished along the coast. Povana was more than just a village, it was the Tongva's sacred place of origin, a center of trade and a spiritual heartland. To the Tongva, it was the very point where life began, the site of their emergence into the world. But history is rarely gentle. In 1784, King Carlos III of Spain granted a massive land concession known as Rancho Los Nietos to Spanish soldier Manuel Nieto. From this vast territory emerged Rancho Los Cerritos and Rancho Los Alamitos, divisions whose boundaries cut directly through what we now call Signal Hill. Western Long Beach fell within Rancho San Pedro, a region plagued by disputes as floods shifted the course of the Los Angeles River, redrawing boundaries and fueling conflict. Meanwhile, the Tongva way of life was unraveling. By 1805, Povana, the once thriving village and spiritual center, had been emptied of its people. Many were taken to Mission San Gabriel, pressed into forced labor, and stripped of their traditions in the name of conversion. Inside the mission walls, conditions were devastating. Disease spread unchecked, children perished in alarming numbers, and countless villagers succumbed to malnourishment, overwork, and even torture. The story of Long Beach, California's history begins here, in the sacred lands of the Tongva, reshaped by Spanish ambition and shadowed by loss. What survives is not just the memory of a people, but the lingering presence of Povana itself, a site that many believe still holds echoes of its ancient past. In 1843, a new chapter began in the history of Long Beach, California. Juan Temple, a merchant who had arrived from New England in 1827, purchased Rancho Los Cerritos. Here he built the adobe that still stands today, the Los Cerritos Ranch House. This landmark, now preserved as a National Historic Landmark, was more than just a residence. It was the beating heart of a thriving cattle empire that made Temple the wealthiest man in Los Angeles County. During the Mexican-American War, both Temple and his ranch house played crucial roles, as battles for California's future rippled across the region. Not far from these ranch lands, on an island in San Pedro Bay, Mormon pioneers attempted to plant a colony. It was meant to be part of Brigham Young's bold plan, a chain of settlements stretching from the Pacific Ocean all the way to Salt Lake. But here the dream faltered, abandoned before it ever took root. After the U.S. conquest of California, Rancho Los Cerritos was officially deeded to Temple by the Public Land Commission. Yet in 1866 he sold the sprawling property for $20,000 to Flint, Bixby and Company, a Northern California sheep-raising enterprise. Their empire stretched even further. Just 2 years before, the company, alongside James Irvine, had acquired land that would later become the city of Irvine. To oversee Rancho Los Cerritos, the firm appointed Jotham Bixby, who would later earn the title Father of Long Beach. By the 1870s, the ranch thundered with life. More than 30,000 sheep grazed these lands, sheared twice a year to supply the booming wool trade. Bixby eventually bought into the property, establishing the influential Bixby Land Company. Then in 1880, change swept over the rancho once again. Bixby sold 4,000 acres to William E. Wilmore, a dreamer who envisioned a utopian farm community. He called it Wilmore City. But the dream quickly unraveled. Wilmore's colony failed, and his land was sold to the Long Beach Land and Water Company, a syndicate with bigger ambitions. It was here that history turned. They gave the community a new name. From Wilmore's failed settlement rose something destined to endure: Long Beach. By the end of the 19th century, the dream of Long Beach had taken firm shape. In 1897, the city was officially incorporated. What began as a seaside resort, its early landscape dotted with small farms, soon transformed into a destination. At its heart stood the Pike, the legendary beachside amusement zone. From 1902 to 1969, the Pike was unrivaled on the West Coast. It dazzled visitors with games, food, and towering rides like the Skywheel Dual Ferris Wheel and the Cyclone Racer roller coaster. For decades, it was a place where the Pacific met wonder, and where countless memories were made along the shoreline. But beneath the laughter of bathers and thrill-seekers, Long Beach's foundations were shifting. The city soon found its true power not only in leisure but in industry. Oil, the Navy, and the port would become the engines that drove its destiny. By the 1950s, Long Beach had earned a curious nickname, Iowa by the Sea. Families from the Midwest had flocked here, seeking opportunity by the water. Entire communities of migrants from Iowa, Nebraska, and beyond gathered for massive annual picnics, festivals of memory, reminding them of the faraway states they once called home. Even before this wave of newcomers, another chapter had been written by the Bixby family. John W. Bixby, cousin to Jotham and Llewellyn, had leased land at Rancho Los Alamitos and assembled a powerful partnership with banker I. W. Hellman and his relatives. Together, they purchased the rancho and began carving a new vision for the oceanfront. Under the Alamitos Land Company, J. W. Bixby named the streets, designed the parks, and laid out communities that would become Belmont Heights, Belmont Shore, and Naples. His sudden death in 1888 ended his direct influence, but his plans endured, reshaping Long Beach into a city with thriving neighborhoods and a distinct identity. When Jotham Bixby passed in 1916, the last 3,500 acres of Rancho Los Cerritos were subdivided into new neighborhoods: Bixby Knolls, California Heights, Los Cerritos, and North Long Beach, along with parts of Signal Hill. The city's commercial core also rose. Pine Avenue near 4th Street became a bustling shopping district. Upscale department stores like Bufham's and Walker's drew crowds, while Barker Brothers, Sears, and Montgomery Ward cemented Long Beach's reputation as a retail hub. Yet, just as prosperity soared, a deeper fortune lay underground. In 1921, oil was discovered on Signal Hill. Almost overnight, derricks crowded the skyline, and Long Beach was propelled into global fame. By the 1920s, the Long Beach oil field was the most productive in the world. And in 1932, the Wilmington oil field was tapped, the fourth largest in the United States, much of it beneath Long Beach itself. Black gold had transformed the city, fueling its rise as an industrial powerhouse. But history is rarely kind for long. In 1933, a devastating earthquake struck. Measuring 6.4, the Long Beach earthquake ripped through the city, killing 120 people and toppling unreinforced masonry buildings. Schools crumbled, churches were displaced, and families were left broken. Out of this tragedy came change, building codes and safety measures that reshaped California construction for generations. The early 20th century had already left its mark. Amusements, migration, oil booms, and disasters all collided, leaving Long Beach a city forged by both prosperity and pain. A city whose history still whispers from its streets, beaches, and fault lines. By the late 1920s, Long Beach was not only an oil town but also a hub of industry. In 1929, the Ford Motor Company built a vast factory at 700 Henry Ford Avenue, known as the Long Beach Assembly Plant. Here, the iconic Ford Model rolled off the line, a symbol of modern mobility. Production continued even after World War II, until 1960, when a devastating fire shut its doors. The plant stood in silence for decades until its demolition in 1991, an end brought on by air quality remediation, erasing one of Long Beach's proudest industrial landmarks. The city was also at the forefront of new social experiments. In 1938, the Carmelitos housing project rose in North Long Beach. It was the first affordable housing complex in all of Southern California, a bold attempt to shape urban living in an era of economic uncertainty. But Long Beach's true test came during World War II. As a port city, its ties to the U.S. Navy stretched back even before the war. In February 1942, Long Beach found itself gripped by fear during what would be called the Battle of Los Angeles. Anti-aircraft guns thundered into the night sky, chasing shadows of enemy aircraft that never appeared. Some swore they had seen planes, or something stranger, above the darkened coast. The mystery has never been fully explained. During these years, the city's population exploded. Workers poured in to support wartime manufacturing, while veterans returned under the GI Bill, eager to build new lives in California. Suburbs spread outward, many shaped by the Bixby Land Company. Industry reached its height at the Douglas Aircraft Company. Its Long Beach plant, an enormous facility covering over 1.4 million square feet, opened just days after the U.S. entered the war. On December 23, 1941, the first plane rolled out, a C-47 Skitran. Soon, the factory roared with life, producing C-47 transports, B-17 Flying Fortresses and A-20 Havoc bombers all at once. This plant would later produce the legendary DC-8 and DC-9 airliners under McDonnell Douglas, and after the 1997 merger with Boeing, the massive C-17 Globemaster transport planes. For nearly three-quarters of a century, Long Beach was one of the beating hearts of American aviation, until the factory's closure in 2015 brought an era to an end. The city's history, however, was never only about industry. In 1968, Long Beach became a stage for the Chicano movement, part of a wave of activism that reshaped civil rights and cultural identity across the nation. From oil booms to shipyards, from mysterious wartime skies to the roar of assembly lines, Long Beach, California's history is one of transformation, always changing, always layered with new stories. And this is just one chapter in the endless tapestry of the past. If you've enjoyed this journey into the hidden history of Long Beach, make sure to subscribe to History Love, your go-to YouTube channel for exploring the fascinating stories of the past. Dive deeper with us and discover the mysteries that time has left behind.